What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Command and Console. My name is Jason. Today we are looking at your craziest gaming hot takes. I put out a post a little while ago to let you just go mad and let me know your crazy unpopular opinions or slash hot takes. I'm going to talk about my own hot take as well. But yeah, let's get to the crazy motherfucking hot takes. So I've got my phone with the hot takes there. This is in no particular order. I think they do randomize on YouTube posts as well. So these are not in chronological order or anything like that. But anyway, without further ado, let's get to the first hot take. The first hot take comes from Twisted and Wicked. And they say, Mortal Kombat Gold is the best 3D era Mortal Kombat game. Now, I am a massive fan of Mortal Kombat 4. Loads of people don't like that game. I love Mortal Kombat 4. It was the game that kind of got me into Mortal Kombat back in the day. It wasn't really the game that introduced me. I got introduced to Mortal Kombat by Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the PlayStation 1. But Mortal Kombat 4 on the PlayStation 1 just cemented my love for Mortal Kombat. It's ironic because I'm not really into Mortal Kombat like I used to be. I'm not into fighting games at all like I used to be. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 4 was a massive nostalgia hit for me when I was a kid. My nan bought it for me when I was way too young to own it. But yeah, it was awesome. Mortal Kombat Gold, if nobody knows what that is the Dreamcast port of Mortal Kombat 4, where I think it's got some extra characters and that in. I'm not 100% knowledgeable on it, but I do know it's basically an enhanced version of Mortal Kombat 4, but it came out for the Dreamcast. So yeah, it may well be the best 3D Mortal Kombat game, but I've not played that version, so I can't really comment. But I'm a big fan of Mortal Kombat 4, and I'm looking forward to the Classics collection for Mortal Kombat to go and revisit Mortal Kombat 4, because I think it'll be loads of fun. Twisted and Wicked, thank you for taking part. That's one hell of a hot take. The next hot take comes from Humble Mud, my good friend over there. Great channel, go and check him out, give him a subscribe, awesome dude. He has said, Witcher 3 combat just sucks. I'm sorry. Right, I haven't played enough of Witcher 3 to really comment on this properly, right? I do know that they went in a kind of way where they're trying to mimic the Arkham Asylum Batman combat, where it was more free flow. And I don't want to say it sucks, but I kind of didn't vibe with it like I did with the Batman Arkham combat, right? There's something about that combat that when someone tries to iterate on it, they don't quite nail it in terms of its weight and meatiness of it, right? They don't really hit those marks for me. And Witcher 3 is kind of there. I feel like it's a bit too floaty, a bit too flashy for it to feel, you know, impactful and powerful and brutal. And Witcher 2, for example, had really great combat. The combat felt weighty. It felt just nasty. You know, you swing your sword down on something, you're going to cleave it in half. Like, that's what it felt like. So I feel like Witcher 3 combat doesn't suck, but I feel like it's a definite downgrade for me when you compare it to Witcher 2, and especially when you compare it to what it's trying to iterate on, which is the Arkham Asylum combat. It is just not quite there. So I don't agree with the combat sucks, but I do agree that it is somewhat underwhelming. But yeah, Humble Mud, thank you so much for your comment on this video. Yeah, it's definitely a hot take, because people love that game and people love the combat. So I can definitely understand why it would be seen as a unpopular opinion. Thanks very much for your comment. The next hot take comes from Deck91808. They say, Xbox 360 is the greatest console of all time. Now, I disagree with this to an extent. I can't really pick a favourite console ever, because I've got memories across different machines that all have similar, you know, sentimental value to me. But I will say this, I've said this in comments before to subscribers that have commented. I have said that I believe when it concerns generations, I don't think anything after 360 has really topped it in terms of like the level of creativity, the level of, you know, taking risks and being really kind of just like putting out some really weird stuff and actually like really breaking the mold on what gaming can be. These days I feel everything is pigeonholed in a particular style, or every game's got to be a looter shooter live service, or Sony only puts out over-the-shoulder third-person action games, or, you know, there's not as much risk-taking or variety in the AAA sphere. Obviously, when you go into indie, it's a different kettle of fish altogether, but when it concerns the AAA scene back in the 360 era, there was way more innovation and way more kind of creativity, artistry involved in video games. So even though I don't agree that 360 is the greatest console of all time, I can't pick a console. It's one of my favourites for sure. It's in the, you know, lack of a better term, Mount Rushmore of video game consoles. But to be the greatest of all time, for me, it's got to have like literally everything about it. It has to basically topple everything else, and I don't think it quite does that for me. I don't think any really console kind of topples other consoles in terms of what they mean to me, but I feel like when it concerns the 360 as a generation, I don't think we've had it as good as that since. I feel like this, especially the current generation, PS5 and Xbox Series and the Switch 2, probably the worst generation we've had for a long, long time. The greediest generation we've had for a long, long time. But yeah, thank you ever so much for your comment, Deck91801 808. I'm getting your name wrong now, bollocks. Anyway, yeah, thanks for your comment. I can see why people probably see that as, you know, the greatest console of all time, especially if you grew up with it. If it was like your first ever console and you grew up with it, I can see it being a massive impact on your life. But for me, there's too many great consoles that I love that I can't pick one. Do you know what I mean? So thanks very much for your comment. Awesome. The next comment comes from 13carry1. They say, Perfect Dark Zero isn't so bad like so much said it is. It is pretty solid and makes fun, but most went on wrong expectations on it. And it's a second. They've got a second little hot take here. And Final Fantasy VII is overrated. It feels that this game is like a cash cow for Square Enix. And they say even I like Sephiroth, I guess. Sephiroth, I guess that's who he's talking about. I don't know how I feel about this in general. Like I thought Perfect Dark Zero was quite average, to be honest. Not shit, not terrible, but as average as you can go. And some average games are great. Like I love Two Worlds, and that's like the most borderline average game ever. But I love that game. But yeah, I just didn't find the vibes in Perfect Dark Zero really. And I've never been a Final Fantasy VII fan, so that's that. So take that with what you will. The next comment comes from Joey Gavin 2765. He says, I wouldn't play Five Nights at Freddy's, Fortnite or Minecraft even if they were free and I didn't have any other games. Now, I'm a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's kind of story narrative lore. Like I followed a bunch of YouTubers when they were covering those games, and I got into like the lore side of things, like Game Theory, Markiplier, people like that. Back in the day, I really got into it. I got suckered in. So I appreciate those games from a kind of storytelling perspective. Not really games that I care to play because they're just glorified point and clicks with some jump scares, I suppose. But yeah, I really don't like care for those as games, but as for a narrative side of things, I think they're really interesting. Minecraft for me is not a game for me either. I've tried it, it's not for me. I can't really get behind it. It's not really my kind of thing. Craftiness is not really my kind of thing, so it's not really a game I've ever really got into. I've tried it and I appreciate what it did for indie titles back in the day. It was probably one of the most played games of all time, one of the biggest games ever, but it came from an indie studio that found massive success. That's only gonna inspire more indie developers to make more games, which is always a good thing for video games, in my opinion. And Fortnite, I like Fortnite for what it is. I don't play it very often, but when I jump in and have a game or two, I have fun with it. It's fine. You know, Battle Royale can be fun in short spurts, right? It's perfectly fine for me. And yeah, and I'm gonna rebuttal your point of, if I didn't have any other games, I wouldn't play these ones if they were the only ones there. I think when it comes to just consuming entertainment, I think people, if they're looking for a game to play, they will consume a game. If they're the only options, they're going to pick one and play it. That's how I feel. It's like the live service situation. I feel there's only so many live service games one can really commit to, usually only one, and usually someone will pick one game to commit to, and that's their game. Like, I know people that all they play is Marvel Rivals, for example. That's their game, they're putting their they're committed to, and that's what they're going to play. Some people only buy FIFA or Call of Duty every year as their main game they're going to put their time into, and that's fine. So I feel like you will eventually pick one game to put your time into and play it. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying, you're lying here, but I feel like psychology-wise, people will just pick a lane and then just put their time into that game. If their only choice is between maybe 4 games, they're going to pick one and play it. That's how I look at it. Yeah, thank you for your comment. Appreciate it. I guess it's a hot take in that these are big popular franchises that are probably got massive fan bases behind them. So I guess you could see it as unpopular. But I still feel like if they're the only games you've got to pick from, you're going to pick a game to play, because as gamers, we itch to play games, right? Anyway, thanks for your comment, Joey. I do appreciate it. The next hot take comes from Mr. Skull Merchant, and they say Final Fantasy VII Remake games are better than the original. Now, this is where I have no context on any of this, because I've not played the remakes for Final Fantasy VII, and I've never really been a fan of Final Fantasy VII original anyway. So, yeah, I can't really comment. I haven't played the remakes. I can't, contrast and the comment there. So I'm sure that is a very, very hot take, because Final Fantasy VII is super, super duper popular. To a fault, almost, in my opinion. I feel like Final Fantasy VII has become like the baby of the franchise, to the point where every other game in the series is kind of overshadowed by it, and I think that's bad, because everyone's always going to compare the series games, the sequel games, to 7, and then they're not going to be 7. 7 is its own thing. And what I love about the Final Fantasy franchise in general is that every game is a new adventure. Every game is different. There's no sequel kind of narrative there in games, unless you talk about Final Fantasy 13 and the 13 sequels, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, I just feel like Final Fantasy 7 is kind of overshadowing the rest of the franchise, which is a shame in my opinion. But yeah, I digress. The next hot takes comes from Brittany Daly, and she says, FIFA games, I'd rather watch paint dry. Now, like I said before, I don't play FIFA. I don't care about football at all. In previous videos, I've mentioned this before as well. But there are people I know that the only game they buy every year is FIFA. So there is an audience for it, obviously. EA makes bank on FIFA. It's not called FIFA anymore, but you know what I mean, right? They make bank on these football games. And yeah, I can understand that. Sure, I'd rather watch paint dry than play a football game. I kind of agree. But is it a hot take as much? Maybe in the grand scheme of video game fans like us, where we want something more substantial, more meaningful, more mechanically sound, more innovative, more creative in our games. Maybe that's, I guess, it is a hot take. I guess, I don't know. To me, I don't feel that it's that shocking. I mean, I think a lot of people that are into video games as a proper medium tend to not play FIFA that much, or tend to that's not really the game they go to. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, guys, if you are into the FIFA titles, because I'm just spitballing generalizations. But from my perspective on video games, if you're an avid fan of video games, you probably don't play FIFA. You play actual video games that actually do something different rather than just imitate a sport, right? Anyway, Brittany, thank you for your comment. Appreciate it. The next comment comes from Donald Mackerel. Awesome dude, great channel. Go and give him a subscribe. He said, Wii greater than PlayStation 3. Oh my sweet, sweet child. I do agree with you. Oh my goodness. Whoa. I do agree. I barely play my PS3. I don't play it. It sits there. I use it as my PS1 machine, and maybe if someone recommends a game for PS3, I might go and hunt it down, pick it up, give it a play, see how I feel about it. But I absolutely adore my Wii. My Wii is I love my Wii collection. I love the Wii. I've grown up to actually appreciate more and more and more. The library is amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm in agreement with Donald here that the Wii might be the better console for me. Obviously, it's all opinions, of course, it's all perspectives, but I don't play my PS3, but I play my Wii. That says everything, right? There's more on the Wii here for me that makes me want to boot up the Wii. And I think with the PS3, aside from exclusive stuff, it's going to mirror what Xbox 360 has, and more often than not, the cross titles across 360 and PS3, the 360 plays them better. So more often than not, I focus on 360 collecting, and I'm definitely gonna play Wii over PS3. So Donald, I agree with you. I prefer the Wii over the PS3. Oh well, Sony, you can sue me. Nintendo, you can pay me, and we're all good. That's right. Donald, thank you so much for your comment. The next hot take comes from JackLow01, and he says the majority of PS4/5 games worth playing are remakes from PS1/PS2. So that's one bit. I kind of guess he's kind of right, sort of. He did say, nah, not really, but there's loads of them. We're in this kind of weird kind of remake, kind of obsessed era where every game from like 20 years ago needs to be remade, I guess. He says, folk bash the newer generations too much. There are too many good games, if anything. You just have to look for them. I do agree there that there are so many good games out there from multiple different generations that you just got to find them. And that's why I believe the hidden gem moniker is actually a real thing, because unless you know about these games, they are hidden from your peripheral vision, right? You don't know they exist. So when someone brings them to your attention, they've come out of hiding and you know about them. So that's why it's always cool to look out for these hidden gem videos from people, and from me. Go and check my videos out. But anyway, I do feel sometimes modern games do get a bit of a bad rap, a bit of a harsh whipping, as they say, because I feel like, especially concerning the PS4 generation, say what you will about Xbox One, but you know, I digress there. So the PS4 had some amazing games. Some of my favourites of all time: Doom 2016, The Last of Us 2, God of War 2018, Spider-Man 2018. There were some amazing games, you know, on there. Games that people love to this day. The Witcher 3 was a massive hit. Bloodborne was a massive hit. Stuff like that. There were some amazing games on more modern systems, and I feel like people wash that away to go, retro is king. I love retro. I love going back and, you know, rekindling memories, but I've got to keep reminding myself the modern stuff isn't terrible. This generation has been pretty bad in terms of we haven't had that many of big, massive, really cool games, unless you look at the indie side of things. But yeah, like, I just feel like there's a bit too harshness on modern games, and I feel like just look at PS4 and look at the library. Awesome library on PS4. Awesome games that blew minds when it came out, right? So yeah, I kind of do agree with Jack here that people are too harsh on modern video games. And I think the reason why they're harsh on modern video games is because, like I said in the 360 comment, there's lack of innovation, there's no creativity. You know, publishers and developers are kind of pigeonholing certain genre, you know, tropes and just sticking with those and not really seeing what they can really push with the new technology for video games. I think Sony was the closest company to really push what new experiences could be, because when I got my PS5, I played Astro's Playroom and it really showcased the controller. The controller felt the most next gen out of everything. This generation, like, the DualSense is amazing. So I feel like that's why people kind of have a bad relationship with modern games, because there's no innovation, no creativity, the same shit regurgitated over and over again. Like Jack just said as well, there's just remakes and remasters galore. And the biggest thing as well, corporate greed is running rampant in video games right now, and it's just terrible. Who would have thought that the PS5, 5 years down the line of its lifespan, would be more expensive? That doesn't happen in game generations. They cut the price, they make it cheaper. But no, the companies, you know, Microsoft, Sony, they've increased their prices, which is absurd. So that's why I feel like there's a lot of bad will and no trust there with modern games. And that's why I feel like more people are going back to the good old days of, like, you know, 5th, 6th and 7th generation consoles, because you can pop your disc in and play the game and not worry about anything. You don't have to worry about microtransactions or subscriptions or anything like that, right? You can just put it in, play the game, have a good time, rekindle some memories, and kick ass. So yeah, Jack, thank you very much for your comment. That's a good one. I agree with that big time. Another hot take from Twisted and Wicked, and this one is a doozy, right? This one, they say Just Dance 2015 ruined the game series. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, Twisted, right? But Just Dance ruined the gaming world for just either existing. So if it took them that long to ruin their own series, fucking hell, they must have been terrible. My God. Thanks for the comment. Next comment comes from, I can't pronounce this guy's name, Jesus Christ. Kimuru Honemi7158. Sorry, dude. I've butchered your name in the most horrendous way possible. But anyway, they say Elden Ring is too easy. It's so easy, in fact, it should not even be called a Souls-like. I mean, in Souls-like, even in games like Stellar Blade, you feel constantly in danger and have to be 100% alert or you die. In Elden Ring, you can just ride around the map carefree and not be in any real danger. And then the bosses, way too easy to beat as well for a Souls-like. First time I play a real Souls-like, bosses keep killing me till I learn how to deal with them. In Elden Ring, I just kept killing the bosses like it was some kiddie game. No sweat whatsoever, no real challenge. Too easy, no matter what the fanboys say. Sure, the game does have a few dungeon areas to beat, but that is just too little real challenge. In other ways, easy game. Oh, anyone who did find Elden Ring a challenge, well, they are obviously tourists, not real gamers. Laugh out loud. I've got more challenge out of Mario Odyssey. Laugh out loud. Right, Kimuru, that's what I'm going to call you, Kimuru. I've got some concessions with this comment, right? I mean, it's definitely a hot take, guys. Definitely is. Now, I will say that I've not beat a Souls-like before, or a From Software game. You know, Dark Souls, Bloodborne. Not beat any of them. I have beat one Souls-like, which was Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. He's saying that Elden Ring is too easy. Now, to put this in perspective, I don't think it's easy. I found it quite difficult, but I suck at these games, so there's my thing there. With Elden Ring, I felt for me, I actually got further than I ever did on any other From Software title. So I had a good time because I was able to push forward and actually explore more of the game, which I found was really fun. Now, he says it's too easy, like you don't feel like you're in danger. Now, kind of agree, kind of disagree. Once you kind of open the map in Elden Ring, you're able to traverse into different areas, and you kind of learn what kind of threats are in the areas. So I kind of understand that you can kind of manage it where you can go to certain areas to grind for souls to be able to, you know, get through the game like that. You kind of learn where certain dangerous enemies are, and you can pick them off or just avoid them altogether. I kind of agree with that a little bit. But to say if you found Elden Ring challenging, you're not a real gamer, this real gamer shit is fucking pathetic. I'm a real gamer because I play video games. End of. So disagree with that assertion. And, you know, if you found more challenge in Mario Odyssey, good for you, sir. Good for you. But yeah, I will concede that Elden Ring is probably the easiest From Soft game I've played in terms of its Souls style games. But I still wouldn't say it's super easy because I still found it challenging. But anyway, Kimuru, thank you for your comment. Appreciate it. The next hot take comes from Crash Bandy 972. They say, I don't like Alan Wake 2. I've not played Alan Wake 2, so I cannot really comment. But did it get a lot of love or a lot? Because I don't really know the reception for that game. Did it get loads of love? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, so I can't really comment on that. I'm sure if you're saying that, it was really, really well received, and you're an outlier being someone that didn't like it. So anyway, let me know down in the comments down below if it was well received. I'm assuming it was, because you wouldn't put I didn't like it if it wasn't well received. But I've not played it. I'm itching to play it, to be honest. I think it looks pretty awesome, to be fair. But anyway, let me know in the comments down below Was it well received? Because if it was, I'm assuming it was, this is probably a fair hot take, I guess. But yeah, Crash Bandy 972, thank you for your comment. The next hot take comes from MonsterMind64, and they say, I hate Xbox consoles. Strong opening. Specifically because of the point system style of achievements. I won't buy an Xbox for that reason only. Okay. PlayStation and Steam do the trophy/achievement system justice, in my honest opinion. You used the word craziest, so that's my crazy opinion. Okay, so you're okay with how PlayStation and Steam do their achievements and trophies, but you don't like how Xbox do it, so you choose to omit the Xbox entirely. That is bold, sir. That is bold. That is very bold. You haven't really gone into any specifics about what it is about their achievement system you don't like. I think it's fine, right? But I'm not an achievement hunter. I don't go after achievements. I'm more inclined to go after trophies because I feel they're a bit more satisfying to achieve. Maybe that's your reasoning. Maybe you don't feel any satisfaction for allowing achievements to pop up and you've achieved this. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit extreme to omit a whole console, series of consoles solely based on the way they do achievements. But I'm not an achievement hunter. I don't hunt for trophies, anything like that. So maybe it's a different perspective there. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys feel about excluding a console based on their achievement systems. I can't really have any really input because I don't really hunt for achievements. Sometimes if I'm really into a game and I'm going to beat it and I really want to, get the most out of it, and the trophies or achievements are 100% doable, I might kind of chase it. But that's very, very rare that I do that. Like Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin was a very rare case of I had accidentally just unlocked most of the trophies and I had a couple left, so I went for the last two and got the platinum. But more often than not, if I 100% a game, it's in terms of achievements or trophies, it's by accident. So I'm not really a hunter. But anyway, thanks for the comment, MonsterMind64. Next comment is from Bednar23. Probably butchered that name, but whatever. They say Red Dead 2 is boring. Right. I got into Red Dead 2 really, really late, right? I got onto Red Dead 2 very, very late. And I still to this day believe it has one of the boring, monotonously slow opening hours of a game. I feel like the opening hour could really probably turn off people, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if it turned off this person with their comment. Yeah. But I feel like when you push through that first hour of gameplay, you start to open up and you start to go to villages and towns. I think that game becomes just a wonderful open world game. Wonderfully just, authentic to the time. And you could be a proper dickhead, which I think is funny. Yeah, there's so much fun you can make for yourself in Red Dead 2 for me. But this brings me to a topic where I feel like eventually, in my opinion, every open world game gets boring. Because you only can fill an open world with so much to do before you run out of ideas, right? Before you run out of things to do. And that's happened to me a lot with games. That's why sometimes I feel like when a game comes out and looks cool but it's open world, I tend to and ah about whether I want to play it because I know that I won't complete the game. I'll get so far in and get bored. So I can understand this comment from Bednar23. I can understand what you're saying, but without context, I don't know why you found it was boring. That first hour, definitely agree. Not a very good first impression. I don't think so anyway. Very dull, very just straight line, kind of slow bearing, very kind of not much going on. And then eventually, after so many hours, depending who you are, an open world can get boring eventually. Open world game can get boring eventually. So I kind of understand it, but these hot takes, I didn't ask for context with these hot takes. I just said just be crazy and just give you a crazy one. So So yeah, I kind of get it. The next hot take is very similar. From Kenon6968. They say Skyrim is boring. Again, I think I have to reiterate my same points. Don't think the opening is very engaging for Skyrim. Every open world game gets boring eventually. But for me, I was very disappointed with Skyrim when it came out. I love Oblivion to death. One of the first proper like big Western RPGs I got into back in the day, and I loved it. Absolutely loved that game. And yeah, so when I got into Skyrim, I was expecting like the next level of everything, right? And it wasn't quite that. I think it might have been my own stupidly high expectations or the hype, or it could be anything like that, right? And I was kind of a little bit disappointed with Skyrim. But yeah, I you know, again, I feel like it's, if you're not into the theme, if you're not into dark fantasy, if you're not into RPGs as a whole, if you're not into open world game, there's loads of facets here that could lead to you saying Skyrim is boring, and I would understand somewhat. But in a general sense, open world games only have so much to do until they get boring. That's all I've got to say there, really, unfortunately. Next comment comes from Sean Sheridan. Thank you very much for dropping a hot take on this post. Appreciate it, guys. He says, GTA 3 is overrated. Overrated in what sense? It's a great game, or everything it did for sandbox games going forward? Because it literally changed the genre. It literally changed gaming completely. It was the biggest sandbox game ever made. It made absolutely gangbusters, you know, in sales. It basically is what open world, it's basically the genesis of open world games in terms of mainstream appeal. So I don't think it's overrated on that sense, because the impact of what the game did for video games is undeniable. But I'm assuming you're saying it from a gameplay perspective. Now, for me, GTA 3 is my favourite out of the PlayStation 2 trilogy, being GTA 3, Vice City and San Andreas. I love GTA 3. I could put that game on now and still just play it for hours and have fun. I don't find it overrated at all. I still feel it really holds up quite well compared to the others as well. I feel it really holds. It's very primitive what it does. Obviously, when you compare it to the other GTAs that come after it, you can tell that it's still kind of, they're still finding their feet with what they want to do with this kind of new sandbox style game. But I still love that game to pieces. So I disagree. I don't think it's overrated. I think it's great from a gameplay perspective, even in 2025. And I think the impact that it gave us on video games is absolutely undeniable. It created the sandbox crime game in the mainstream kind of gaming outlet, I guess you could say. Anyway, yeah, I disagree, but I appreciate the opinion. Another comment about Red Dead Redemption. Uga Boogie 1637 says Red Dead Redemption is a little boring. I'm not going to repeat myself, but it just goes back to the Skyrim and the Red Dead 2 discussion about how, you know, I can kind of understand, because it does get a little long in the tooth and open world games run out of stuff to do. I get it. I do get it with these open world games. But that first Red Dead Redemption game is peak. I'm sorry. I don't know how you can find that game boring. It's got so much to do. It really does. Even in an open world sense, there's shitloads to do in that. And the zombie DLC is amazing. Go and play that if you're bored of the main campaign, because zombies make things infinitely cooler, right? Thanks for your comment. And that's it, guys. Those are all of your crazy, goddamn crazy hot takes on video games. Now, you saw my comment, maybe on the post as well, and in the thumbnail. Now, my hot take would be that fighting games have zero value. Now, obviously, I'm being facetious with this, because there are great fighting games from the past that I absolutely loved. I played more fighting games back in the day than I ever do now. And that's because I feel like the value is literally stripped out of every fighting game that comes out now just to sell it to you later. That's the problem. When we had games like Soul Blade, Soul Calibur 2, Tekken 3, Mortal Kombat 2011, these amazing fighting games that I absolutely adore, they had so much content to unlock. Absolutely tons of it. New game modes. Who remembers playing Tekken Bowl or Tekken Force mode, which is literally Streets of Rage by Tekken? These were unlockable modes that added so much more value to these games and made you want to play more of it. Unlock new characters. You know, go through the arcade ladder with every character to see their endings. So much there for fighting games, I feel. Back in the day anyway, you know, there was so much value there. And I think nowadays in the AAA vibe of fighting games, there's no value. If you buy day one, you're buying a empty shell of a game. It's not until maybe character pack 25 you might get a full roster and actually like things to do in a fighting game. I know fighting games are more catered to the competitive player these days, but for casuals, I just feel there's not enough there to warrant a purchase, in my opinion, of course. This might be a hot take in your guys' opinions, but I do feel fighting games have just fell off a cliff in terms of their value prospect and whether I want to play them or even buy any. And usually it's no thanks, I'd rather buy something else. That's it guys for all the hot takes today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Different kind of video for the channel for me. I thought this would be a good laugh, wouldn't it? You get to hear what I've got to say and hear what, you know, the audience has to say. It's awesome, and I would love to do a second video like this in the future. So yeah, get those hot takes boiling on the stove, because we're going to revisit this at some point in the future. As always guys, thank you very much for watching this video and sticking with me for what looks like it's going to be about a fucking 40-minute video. But anyway, as always guys, thanks for checking out the video, checking out my stupid face, subscribing, and as always, let's continue to build a games collection.